Well, my next guest says France needs to clarify its position on the Ukraine crisis. He said Macron's suggestion that Europe act as a balancing power, as ill-timed as it is ill-considered, seems to imply that Russia, China and the United States are equidistant and equal worth, and of equal worth. Second, while no one is ruling out talks, the word dialogue seems inappropriate today. In fact, despite the multiple working groups launched by the president's envoy on this subject, this dialogue has produced nothing, as was to be expected. Well, not holding back, Nicolas Tenzer is the editor of Desk Russie, a Russian newsletter, and he joins me now via Skype. Let's start with this meeting of Vladimir Putin and Emmanuel Macron sitting at both ends of what is a very, very long table. I know we've seen this table before, but look, I mean, it didn't look particularly warm as far as the body language was concerned. The French president turned up saying he was cautiously optimistic, effectively, didn't expect to see spontaneous miracles. What's his strategy here, and will it work?
Well, I think it's very difficult to know. In fact, I think Emmanuel Macron remains quite ambiguous because on the one hand, he has a very tough language on Russia, saying that we must really comply with the international requirement, is that he must give up on Ukraine, respect the sovereignty of Ukraine, its territorial integrity. But on the other hand, he says that we have to drive a kind of dialogue with Russia. And I think dialogue is probably not the right word. We could have discussions basically with Russia, but dialogue or even negotiations is completely inappropriate because we must know that there could be no trust with Russia. Macron, before he has partly abandoned this language, talked about a new architecture of security of trust with Russia. And I think we cannot trust Russia, basically, because I think Russia wants to keep its grips on Ukraine, on Georgia as well, on Belarus, Transnistria. And I think, well, I think that we cannot expect anything from this kind of dialogue with Putin's regime.
The Kremlin went into this meeting saying that they haven't seen anything new in terms of their demands, in terms of the responses that they've got to their demands. There is a certain suggestion, and I think to all intents and purposes you're suggesting this as well, that there might be a strategy on the part of President Putin to try and drive a wedge or drive a further wedge between the Europeans as a bloc on this and the Europeans, NATO and the US. From the language that you have heard from Emmanuel Macron, do you see that as an opportunity for Vladimir Putin? At this point, you know, we're all reading the tea leaves, are we? Because we have no real idea what his intentions are at this point.
Yes, exactly. I think that still, really, I think Putin aims at basically dividing the allies, dividing the EU and the US and the EU countries between themselves. You have some countries who are ready to appease basically Russia, such as Hungary with Orban, such as Germany, also with Chancellor Scholz. And Macron, I think, is in between. He still considers that Europe must have a specific voice, have its own say on the Russian crisis. But on the other hand, I think it takes a lot of care to consult with President Biden. He had the phone call yesterday with the leaders of the Baltic states, Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. He had also some talks with President Duda of Poland. So he tried just to say that, well, we must not divide Europe. And already I think he has in mind, as his previous attempt with Chancellor Merkel at that time in June 2021, to have a kind of summit between the EU and Russia. And it was completely rejected by quite all the members of the EU Council. So I think we must be very, very, very cautious. And in fact, we know that if there is a solution, I don't know what could be, you know, in the Russian crisis, I think it will be brought because the US has a very strong resolve to send troops if something happens, to have personal sanctions against the oligarchs, I mean, Putin's inner circle. And I think that will make the difference. I think Europe alone or France alone cannot make the difference, basically.
We're going to leave it there. We thank you very much indeed for your analysis and your insight this evening.